Hey, this is Dave from metalepidemic.com. Thank you for checking out our YouTube video. Please feel free to hit the subscribe button below if you like this type of content, and we hope you enjoy the review. What's up, guys? Dave here from Metal Epidemic, back with another album review. And for this review, Duncan Kyle and I have been checking out the new album from Bristol quartet, Shoegaze. The band's new album, The Live Long After, was released on August 27th via Small Pond Records. So, gentlemen, debut album from Shoegaze after releasing a couple of EPs to date. Not a band I was familiar with before hearing this album, but definitely the influences and the styles that were mentioned in the press release definitely caught my attention. This album was recorded at The Nave in Leeds and various small rooms around Bristol. It was co-produced by Andy Hawkins and Shoegaze, and then mixed by Ashley Tubb, and then mastered by Dave Draper. So, Shoegaze. It sounds like it should be slang for something. Like sugar horse, like I don't know, or code for some sort of street drug or something like that. Like,
Dave, we can use it however we want, and that's the beauty of the English language. You just appropriate it and use it forever. Yeah. Whatever you want. It's yours. It's yours now, Dave. You run with it.
I'm going to meet with the band at the weekend and get totally sugar horsed.
Yeah, you got any of that sugar horse?
Rub it on your gums.
I'll beat you in the back of Asda in 10 minutes. So, Shoegaze, actually, before I even get into the music, the first thing I noticed about this album was the track titles.
Yes, Fat Dracula is my favourite track title this year thus far.
Absolutely. Yeah. I got that written down in my notes with a big, massive smiley face next to it.
Yeah. Anyone that knows me knows that I enjoy song titles with a kind of tongue in the cheek. And also, you have, like, just from the names of the songs, if you've never listened to the band before, I thought I knew where things were going, because obviously I didn't read the press statement, and it's not like how I thought it was. So.
Clearly do have a playful side, but as you say, wouldn't necessarily say the music matched the tone of the track titles. This didn't really go the way I was expecting either. This album has some kind of seriously kind of ugly moments that I wasn't expecting musically. I'd say probably at its heaviest, it's probably most in alignment with like post-metal or doom at times. But it also kind of flirts with moments of like shoegaze, even a bit of kind of indie rock. And you kind of get a lot of that from the first like few tracks of the album. They all have a kind of quite a thick, kind of angular, kind of post-metal sound at their core, but they like intersperse it with a lot of really interesting atmospheric moments musically that kind of lean more into shoegaze, but it also has some really kind of cool and interesting atmospheric moments, especially like musically, but also in the vocal melodies too. Reminded me a bit of like Oceansize or a little bit My Bloody Valentine in places as well. But then track 4 kind of kicked in, Phil Spector and Hell. And like after those first 3 tracks of hearing that kind of thick post-metal sound, the band go like fully ambient and atmospheric. No heavy guitars, just like clean melodies and this kind of light, like post-rock meets shoegaze kind of 8-minute journey. And it kind of took me back a bit. You know, it's a stunning track. The clean layers of vocals are kind of built on top of each other. But you know what, it's got that kind of like big hall kind of reverb. It's really hypnotic and quite soothing. So I was thinking, like, even at like just like 4 tracks into this album, the dynamics on the album were fantastic. I was really enjoying that side of it. And like structurally, Shoegaze don't really follow any like particular type of formula. You know, it's quite a unique sound, and I kind of dug the like unpredictability of it. I wasn't quite sure like where the album was going to go next. Like after that track, Phil Spector and Hell. I expected them to go with something kind of short and kind of hard hitting, like right off the bat, but they didn't. You know, it was another like 8-minute slow burn kind of journey into that heaviness again. But I actually really enjoyed the journey on it. As the saying goes, you know what I mean? It's all about the journey, not the destination. And although the destination often gives you that kind of huge payoff in terms of like heaviness and the kind of climax of the track, the journey and the build-up of like atmospheric chords and melodies kind of made the conclusion of the track a bit more satisfying for me. And the thing is, like when those big riffs kick in, they sound huge, they sound colossal. When they're bordering them with that kind of more floaty kind of side of the band, like the riffs at the end of the title track, for example, are absolutely pummeling. Similar in tone to something like kind of latter day like Bossk or Cult of Luna at times. And it happens again on a track called Terrible Things Are Happening As We Speak, which for the first kind of couple of minutes is like kind of like a shoegaze version of Simple Minds is what I was like thinking in my head when I was listening to it. But
it does have a Simple Minds feel.
Yeah, but when that heavy part kind of drops in, the tone and the kind of weight of it is really just like crushingly heavy. And it was on that track, it started to like make me think about the band name, like Sugar Horse. It kind of, I felt like it kind of fits the band. There's something quite sweet and kind of pure about it in places, but it's also really like kind of powerful in others, vocally as well. Like it can go from like really smooth and anthemic on tracks like Dadcore World Cup, and then completely like visceral on the closing track, A Las Vegas Showgirl. And that last track is just very obscure in places. The kind of rhythms and riffs are again quite angular to begin with, and the track doesn't seem to have or follow any kind of type of formula, but I think that the kind of clean vocals somehow managed to kind of tie it all together. And I love the bass tone. The bass tone is thick with 2 C's, but to be honest, I felt like the whole production really had that kind of feel, it had a real punch to it, to be honest. Everything sounds really natural and kind of organic, which I loved. So a lot of stuff that I really enjoyed on this release. I wasn't really sure what to expect from it, but I did find it quite a rewarding album, actually. Duncan, what did you make of this one?
Where to put the cards down on the table here.
Okay.
Oh no.
We've got the video format now, so I can stretch it and make it look like I'm actually pondering. This is fucking excellent. Is the opening statement. This is absolutely excellent. This is kind of what I've been talking about this year, particularly about bands trying to kind of create their own, not their own genre, but their own way of bringing different styles in to the fold and kind of organically stitching them together. Some of my favourite releases this year have been from bands that have, really taken a kind of an interesting angle to approach writing music, and the way that they're constructed on the albums kind of reward the listener upon repeat listens, which this album does. This album is definitely you want to get through it a couple of times, because you're rewarded every time you listen. The beauty of that comes primarily on the back half of the album, where things become a lot more experimental, and they really kind of feel like they allow themselves time to breathe into the tracks and just like really get a grasp on a theme, an idea, a motif, and then experiment with it as far as they can take it, but never to the point where it becomes laboured or lethargic. For the most part, the songwriting precision on how long something plays for against its value in a song, that ratio is razor tight. It's really, really, really well crafted. Vocally, this is stunning. Like, absolutely stunning. The vocal melodies are among some of my favourite vocal melodies I've heard this year. The way they're crafted, the way they're executed, the backing vocals that accompany it. I don't know if it's the same singer, just kind of thickening things out with kind of counter melodies or whatnot, but they all sound great. The production is spot on, absolutely spot on. Everything's nice and crisp. We already mentioned it, that thick with 2 C's bass, which is just in there, just giving everything. And there are moments where you're not getting hammered with it, but then stuff starts to pull out, and when it pulls out, you just get this massively thick bass line that comes in to pull things back. And where other bands would maybe utilise a distorted guitar, this band have avoided doing that, and I love that. I think that's a really, really good choice. Also plays into their strengths, I think, in terms of musicianship, because this is not just a bass player that's just following what the guitarist is doing. He's got his own personality, his own sound, and his own style. So why not give that room to kind of shine out on the album? I think specifically on this one, where it kind of floored me was on the second listen. So the first listen, very much like yourself, kind of thought I had a handle after the first couple of tracks. Got hit with that 8-minute, almost 9-minute track where I was like, right, here we go. Right, so where do we go after this? And I noticed that after that, the tracks progressively stayed long. I mean, the kind of first three tracks in this album, cumulatively together, are about the same length as the last track, which speaks a lot. And I mean, when you're closing your album with a 9.5-minute song and a 10-minute song as your two closing tracks, there needs to be something in there. I've talked about this as well, where I feel that this year, it's almost like the COVID thing had bands writing much longer songs because they didn't have anything else to do. We're going to write a 10-minute song. We'll just shove it in there. We'll just fucking do it. On this one, I think the length of the songs and the length of the album, which does top in over an hour in length, actually aids it. I think the moments of atmosphere and ambience and, moments where they kind of hit a kind of almost indie rock element, or they start mixing in those shoegaze elements, those are the tracks that have the length, and that makes sense to me. That's where you'd want to have that. It would make no sense to have like track like Fat Dracula, for example. Fat Dracula should not be an 8-minute track. They squeeze every last drop out of that track and then leave it at that moment. So what I was surprised by this is, you're saying this is a debut. Once again, put my hand up, I don't read any press statements at all. This band already sound like they've got it. Like, they've got their sound. It's unique enough. The production in the album's fucking great. It's never boring at all. It's never repetitive. It keeps your attention on repeat listens, which is difficult to say for an album of its length. And I think they're genuinely, the same way I was genuinely excited last year when we listened to, the only album I can equate it to that's in a similar sphere, even though it's in a completely different genre, is Dawnwalker. When we listened to Dawnwalker at the end of last year, and I was like, this guy's doing fucking everything. He's like, like the kitchen sink's playing guitar on this track. It's like absolutely, he's just all over the place and everywhere. This is kind of what this is. It feels like it's just covering absolutely everything, but at no point does it feel unfocused. At no point does it feel like, well, that's the one step too far. That song was great, but you had to go and do this. Everything is measured and calculated. The closing track in particular is a testament on how to write songs that are not necessarily hooky in any way, but infinitely interesting and rewarding. Not at one point did I think, oh, well, are we still going with this? It kept my attention right to the very end. This is a fucking great album. I'm so excited that they're British for a start, but this is one of these albums that I feel like, if you spoke to me 3 months from now, my favourite 3 tracks would be a different 3 tracks. And if you spoke to me 3 months from there, my favourite 3 tracks would be a different 3 tracks on the album, because every time I come back to it, I'm like, that's such a clever use of kind of atmosphere, and those vocal melodies are fucking incredible. The next time I listen, I'm like, no, that's better. That one's better. So yeah, I think this is absolutely fucking brilliant. So well played, Sugar Horse. Not sure on the name. I know Dave's likes it. I am not sure on the name, but I don't have to be sure on the name. All I have to do is be sure on the music, which I am. It's fucking brilliant. So.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying about the length. I did find there was a few tracks were too long for me personally.
I've had enough of you and your nonsense here with your fucking 1.5 hour deathcore albums that you've been trying to get me and Kyle to listen to this year. Get yourself to the bin, Dave. Get yourself to the bin.
5 of the 9 tracks are over 8 minutes, and I felt like some of those tracks, the journey was great. I was with them and I was following them, and right up until the end, to the climax, and the build really worked. And other times, it took too long and my mind started to wander. Not on every track, but there was a few that I felt were just a shade too long for me. That's one of my kind of main kind of issues that I had with this. I don't have many issues, but
I think you've got ADHD. I think that's what it is. And that's nothing. I think what you need to do is go to the doctor and see if he'll prescribe you some sugar horse to take the nip off it. So
back at Asda, 10 minutes. Kyle, what did you think?
There's not much I could say now. You guys have enjoyed it thoroughly for three of us. That riff in what's the song called? Shouting Judas at Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
That gave me stank face. Riff is like, fuck. Oh, yes. It sounded a bit like a horse. As I don't know, after like the second track, it proves that you can't pigeonhole this band at all.
No.
It just 2 tracks in, you're like, oh, this is really interesting. They're not like putting one song in one genre and another genre in another song and just going through like that. It's actually all of the things they're interested in and all of their influences come together in such an interesting way, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Fat Dracula, that song title gave me, the Judas one gave me stank face, that one just gave me instant smile. I love the thing for me is I really loved all the heavy bits that they did, like the beginning of the album. The first couple of tracks were just like, holy fuck, this is heavy.
Yeah.
And then they mixed in the ambient bits, but the ambients were just as good as the heavy bits.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're trying to cheese one off the other. They're really good at both, and they're really good at everything they do. So they clearly have mastered. And they sound like a band that they're 4 albums into their career already.
It's ridiculous how accomplished they are. Really, I mean, I was expecting you to tell me this was Bristol's best kept secret with 8 albums under their belt, 5 world tours, and I just never heard of them, because that's, for a debut, that's ridiculous. It reminded me a lot, actually. Once again, not musically, it's just how things work in my brain. See, when you listen to Tool's Lateralis, that's an album that towards the end is just all long fucking songs, but when you listen to the front half of that album, it's heavy as balls.
Yeah.
And then, but by the midway point, they just change. They just like, we're just going to do things a lot cleaner. We're just not going to be as heavy anymore. And I find the back half of that album more rewarding than the front half of that album because of that. And this kind of reminded me of the same thing, where it feels like they've got all the heavy stuff kind of out the way, so to speak, and now they're doing the stuff which just takes you, we're going to say journey again, takes you on a journey. But it really does. Never sure if that's you singing the song or if it's a command not to stop reviewing, because you know I have no off switch, Dave. So,
either
it kind of reminded me of that. I want to hear Kyle talk about the production.
The production, I don't know much to say about the production. It was fucking great. I mean, the bass tone just made me want to shit myself. It was so good.
2 C thick?
Yeah, 2. It was BACC. It was bass, It was like, oh, yeah. And I heard that, especially the first couple of tracks, just wow. And the bassist is really good. It's one of those bassists, I've said it before about a couple of others, they know when to play the song, and they know when to like do like a fill or some other thing here and there, and they know when to just play to the song. It's great. I love bassists like that. They're not just following the guitars, but they don't overplay either. Like there's some show-off bassists out there that are just like, I'm going to play everything all the time, and it's just not going to serve the song. But this one is absolutely fantastic. The drum production, loved it. It was nice, natural, organic. There was no there may have been, but I didn't overhear it, so if you know what I mean. So it was tastefully done, if there was. I can't really say, but no, I thought the production was great. Everything just sat where it should. Nothing was too polished, nothing was too shit either, if you know what I mean. There wasn't like any, we're going to black metal this up, let's just rub some crap on it. No, it was like, it was really good. I really enjoyed it. They sound exactly how they're meant to sound, I think, with the production and everything. So audible. And I just love talking about that bass, because
not enough bands do count-ins either. How cool is that first track?
I know, right? That was great.
Loved that. Absolutely
really
loved that. Okay, so ratings for this new album from Sugar Horse. It is a lengthy release, so there's no getting around it. It's just under an hour.
I didn't notice the length, actually.
Did you not?
You mentioned it, and I'm just like,
yeah, it's an hour. In 9 songs, it's an hour and 2 minutes in length.
Yeah. I feel I had to be in a certain frame of mind for it, me personally. But when I'm in the mood, very rewarding. There's a lot to unpack from it, but after 2-3 listens, you really start to find your groove with it. I think the transitions from the doomy, shoegazy stuff and the post-metal parts are done really well, dynamically excellent, and vocally I really enjoyed the cleans, and some of those vocal lines were really, really catchy on tracks like Shouting Judas at Bob Dylan. And most of all, I think I just enjoyed the kind of vibe of the album. I'm a big fan of shoegaze and post-metal, and I think the mix of tones and textures these guys have kind of incorporated on this are great. My main issue is, as I said, I think there are a few tracks that are just a bit too long, just for my personal taste. I just felt like some of the tracks I kind of started to switch off. That's my only kind of major gripe. I'd actually really like to see these guys live, to be honest. After listening to this album, I think it would be absolutely spectacular to see all those dynamics and different changes live. I think it'd be really nice. I'm going 4 out of 5 from me for the Sugar Horse album. Duncan, what are you thinking?
It's the wrong score, Dave. I'll tell you the right score. Tell you what the right score is. This is a 4.5 album. This is... Give me a second till I finish. I can't guarantee... He always cuts you off, doesn't he? I sit and listen to all these...
It's half a point.
Give me a second.
0.5?
Would you... Yes,
0.5.
Give me a second, right? Is he 4.5? I can't guarantee at the end of the year it's not a 5. That's how much I feel there is plenty of time to grow into this album. I think I'm not going to disagree that you have to be in the right frame of mind. You know how I listen to music? I'm an album guy. I don't like listening to... I'll just listen to singles. I see zero fucking value in that at all. When I sit down to listen to an album, I listen to it in its entirety, unless I am running and I have a playlist set up, right? It's literally the only caveat. So you have to have that time set aside. I would not listen to this music when I was, I don't know, at work trying to code something. It's not that sort of music. This music, it requires space. It requires a bit of room. But what I think it does have is all the rewards that you want. Like everything that you would really, really want from a release is in here. Like the production, the music, the ambience, the vocals, the textures, the flavors. It's an album that I only think is going to get better and better the longer time goes on. So there's absolutely no way I can come in with a proxy 4 when this is clearly a 4.5 star album.
Okay. Kyle?
Right, shots fired, Dave.
After all that, a 0.5 difference.
There's a big difference between a 4-star album and a 4.5. Just like there is between a 4.5 and a 5.
Like it was a 5 out of 5, and then you were like 4.5.
God forbid I should talk about how I enjoyed an album. Next time when I give a 4.5, I'll try and tone it down a little bit.
If you wouldn't mind. Kyle, what you got?
I'm not going to say much, except this is probably the most interesting thing to ever come out of Bristol, so 4 out of 5.
True. So what's your score?
I said 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5. Right, okay. Did you say that? I didn't even hear you say that.
I did.
You did, yeah.
Jokes too funny. I'll tone those down.
Sorry. So Sugar Horse, the Live Long After. It's out on 27th of August on Small Pond Records. If you want to check them out, facebook.com/Sugar Horse Ruined My Birthday is their Facebook.
I love the humour. I really do.
It's so funny how all of that does not match the tone of the music at all.
Not even a little bit.
It's just another layer of funny on top of all of it.
I'll put a link below to their Facebook and to their Bandcamp page so you can check out the pre-orders for the album. Check it out. It's definitely worth checking out when it drops on 27th of August. If you've heard any of the singles, let us know. Put some comments in below. Once you hear the album, let us know your thoughts and opinions on it. Happy to hear them. That's the review. Thank you for checking it out. Much appreciated. We'll be back with another review very soon. But until then, take care. Speak to you soon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.